Welcome to the webinar, Brand Resilience, Leading with Confidence in Uncertain Times. Hello, everyone. I'm Kristen Sellier, founder and president of Ideate. Thank you for joining us for today's Lunch and Learn, Brand Resilience, Leading with Confidence in Uncertain Times. I know many of you are feeling the pressure of today's economic uncertainty. You're not alone. Leaders everywhere are worried about protecting their brands when the economy is shaky. Why brand resilience matters. When anxiety is as high and negative news is everywhere, your brand is more important than ever. A strong, clear brand message can help you weather the storm, shorten your sales cycle, and give your team and customers confidence even in a downturn. Key strategies for protecting your brand. Let's talk about what works. Staying visible. Number one, don't disappear. Keep communicating with your audiences. Consistency builds trust. Many times in a down economy or uncertain times, companies will decrease their marketing, decrease their branding, decrease their advertising. This is an opportune time for brands to maintain and even increase because it's an opportunity to gain market share because the competition is decreasing their marketing. So make sure that when you are staying visible, if you're currently using social media, if you're currently using email marketing, you're currently writing blogs or creating video content or writing articles on LinkedIn, continue to do that. And if you can, enhance. If you're doing it 1 time a week, increase to 2 times a week. But make sure that you have visible touch points to your customers, your prospects, and your employees, that the brand is alive and well, and you're leading with your purpose. Number 2, clarify your message. Make sure that your value is clear and relevant during today's challenge. Many times I find that a brand message has changed. Even 2 years ago, what was said in 2023 may no longer be relevant in 2025. It's important to evaluate that message and make sure that that message is true today and in 2026. What happens is companies change, their leadership changes, their products change, their services change. And what doesn't happen is then a reflection or engaging a third party to help clarify what that message is today. What is the truth? To clarify your message, Ideate offers a positioning and messaging project. That project helps you look at your competitive landscape, look at your audiences, and look at your company culture and determine what your business, your opportunity is in comparison to what else is out there. There may have been new competitors come in the last 2 years. Does your message still stand up and give you a competitive edge against those? This positioning and messaging exercise helps that brand stay thoughtful, clear, and intentional as you are moving forward and communicating your message. Number 3, listen and adapt. Pay attention to what your customers are saying and be flexible and responsive. It's easy to ask questions to your customers like, how was your experience? And are you happy with the results? Is there anything that we can do to improve? However, your customers, prospects, and partners may be less likely to be 100% honest and open with you because it's a one-on-one. Bringing in a third party like Ideate to help ask those hard questions and give your customers the freedom to answer anonymously is important to get the truth. We offer focus group studies, brand equity analysis, and also online surveys to ask the hard questions and get answers from your customers about really what they're experiencing, their perceptions, and their customer sentiment about the brand. Now, the willingness in the end, once we get the data, is to be able to make those changes. Number 4, invest in your team. The employees many times get forgotten, but the employees are the best brand ambassador for your company. So take some time and make sure that each week as you're having your company meetings, you continue to invest in your workforce. by communicating what the company purpose is, communicating the values, the belief systems, the mission, and making sure that you're talking to them on a regular basis about how their personal time and attention to the business is critical to the company's success. What we've done, what Ideate has done for customers before, is create an Ideate guidebook. The guidebook is really a partner to the employee handbook. The employee handbook is this 90-page Word document that we all have, that lawyers create and that HR companies put out there, but many times it's just painful and hard to read for employees. And they really don't know, once they've read the employee handbook, what they should do to be successful. The guidebook takes all of that information, the company culture, and really funnels it down into a very simple guidebook, which includes pictures and minimal copy and headlines, giving employees the tools to be successful on day 1 through day 360. And this guidebook can really communicate to your employees and your staff when you're not there, answering questions, how to handle customer service, what is our process, along with simple do's and don'ts, and what your mission is. So I encourage all of you to focus on investing in your team and giving them the tools so that they can be successful and know that they're a part of a bigger purpose. Number 5, leverage data. Data is all around us now. We didn't have this about 10 years ago, but now we have data and it's everywhere. And I'm sure you're seeing everything from Google Analytics to advertising with click-through rates, to reading your open rate on your emails, to your impressions, your likes, all this information. It's a lot of data and incredibly hard to understand and comprehend, because it's less about impressions and less about engagement. It's more about what are you achieving with that business objective. It's important to bring in a third party like Ideate to be able to evaluate the data that you have and look at it across the board to ensure that it is achieving success. And then the action is declining or decreasing or minimizing the actions that aren't working and leaning in heavy into the actions that are working. For example, we worked with a customer who had a product and they were marketing that product, but they were not utilizing Performance Max, which is one of Google's shopping ads. Once we implemented that ad, they had an immediate 176% increase in sales through that particular channel. So it's important to know the data and bring in a third party that can see the gaps and see where you could have an immediate lift and then measure those results. So now let's get into some real world examples. I'm going to share some stories from brands we've helped at Ideate, how they've stayed strong, adapted, and even grew during tough times. We aren't too far away from COVID, you know, so these aren't just theories, they're proven strategies that work. Reflective Apparel Factory came to us in 2019, and we have worked with them through 2025. Reflective Apparel Factory was a family-owned company in Kennesaw, Georgia, just very close to where our headquarters are. And they were at a pivot point in the business and they needed to grow. They came to us asking what they should do, and we helped them create a positioning statement that reflected, no pun intended, what they stood for, what their brand position was against the competition. They had never done this. They did not have a brand position before. And in order to grow, this positioning statement became the foundation for the brand. So this position, this is just a snippet from it, but this position created a strong foundation for the next 5 years of growth that we would help them with. And during COVID, during a very tumultuous time, they were able to grow. They were able to go from a company that didn't have any brand awareness. The only people that knew that they existed were their own customers. So we had to build awareness. And they went from a company that no one knew existed to a company that all the competition was, wow, you guys came out of nowhere. That company during that time period has doubled their EBITDA. They were also up for sale. There was many companies that wanted to buy them, and they were purchased and sold just this year. So a huge success story for Reflective Apparel Factory. And to get to the visuals, this is what the outcome looked like for Reflective Apparel. We rebranded them. We did all their graphics within the same color palette. We used the new photography and put it into situations that made sense in terms how people would buy this reflective apparel. We created trade show graphics, hang tags for articles of clothing, and enhanced their website. The website before was not speaking to their customers. They had two distinct customer segments, one for distributors and one direct customers. This website communicated to both of those segments clearly, showed people, number one, by product or by industry, allowing people who were using the website to be able to navigate to the place through the method that they wanted to. It created a consistent look and feel and a good experience that was reflective of the personal nature of reflective apparel. And now we'll move on to Builders. Builders Insurance Group is a captive agency, and Builders brought us in 2020, 1 month before COVID started. Again, during a very tumultuous time, and economic uncertainty was rampant. Builders had a problem. They had one audience, which was construction, and that was high risk. And their brand was reflective of working with construction only. Second, they had a leadership change. So leadership change and only able to attract businesses in which they were trying to grow elsewhere. They brought Ideate in to help them with this brand change. We helped them create the new Builders. They went from Builders Insurance Group to Builders to simplify and create a brand that, instead of focused on the construction industry, was focused on building businesses strong. So the new brand is Builders, their new tagline, Insurance Built Strong. And these are some of the visual outcomes of the brand. Now, Builders over the last 5 years has grown significantly. They have moved and expanded their footprint. They reach over 1,500 agents nationwide, and they've been able to increase their footprint in what they offer. Now, what they're known for is relationships, good customer service, and they're known for delivering workers' compensation and general liability for businesses. This change in their market has allowed them to grow nationally and also expand by acquisition. And during those acquisition periods, they have been able to utilize their brand positioning and brand to be able to attract those acquiring companies, and also to be able to bring those acquiring companies underneath the umbrella of Builders. Builders celebrated 30 years 2 years ago, and we were able to help them have that party and celebrate what Builders has accomplished today. They have now stepped into doing advertising this last year, which is a new channel for them to get their brand out there. And we've been able to help Builders throughout that entire time period, from the beginning of COVID to really the tail end of COVID, and to watch that company come through even stronger than before. And they, unlike the insurance competitors, doubled down on investing in their brand during that tough time. And that investment allowed them to expand significantly, attract a great workforce, and also solidify what their brand was so that they stood out against their competitors. Let's move on to LifeTrack. LifeTrack is a nonprofit. LifeTrack has been known for transplants. They would be the organization to go to who had relationships with hospitals and healthcare providers when people were going through a need for a transplant. This organization had a history of being known for transplants. However, they also offered adjacent therapies that they were not known for. So it was incredibly hard for them to change this trajectory of the brand. And they were losing business and attracting people because of this. So we came in and worked with them to help communicate the offerings of these different tracks. We took the name Life Track and took the word track and attached that to the different adjacent therapies that they offered. So, for example, the specialty drugs track was noted below. That was one of the flyers that was created to speak specifically to that offering that they had. Their graphics and artwork were tired and old, and we helped revitalize and relift the entire brand and what it looked like, the color palettes, and also the openness with white space and bright, vibrant colors. The brand had a 57% increase in funds for these therapies in the year subsequent the launch of the track concept. And they were enabled them to sell that particular nonprofit to a greater organization. So again, a great success story, starting from an area that was challenging to an area that became an opportunity, and then allowed the organization to be sold. Example number 4, Solace. Solace is a probiotic company, but not your regular probiotic that you can buy for $15 over the counter in Target. Solace is a active probiotic, meaning that it has to be shipped on ice. It has to stay cold. And it's more expensive than the other probiotics that are out there. So it was very important for them to communicate their message well, and they were struggling because of the grocery store probiotic that people knew them for. What we did for them is we helped them reach very specific audience segments and help create consistent brands and help them reach those audience segments in a trusted environment. This page is an example of the consistency in brand look and feel that we created and what happened for them in the very first month of utilizing our services to reach those audiences. They made all of the money to pay for all of our services in the entire time period we worked with them. And we did that by finding very specific journals online that had trusted physicians. And we advertised within those trusted physician publications so that Solace would be adjacent to that trusted physician. This company now has since been sold to a much greater entity as well because of their profits, and they're now growing significantly across international waters. And the last real story is Retail Stat. So Retail Stat used to be known as Information Clearinghouse. It sounds like it's straight out of 1970s. It's not, though. They deliver a very high-tech software product. Retail Stat used to be Information Clearinghouse and had a suite of products that they offered. And what Information Clearinghouse offered was data to retailers. Retailers would come to Information Clearinghouse and get information on a potential geographic location for another retail store. They delivered information quickly and just the facts. So a lot of stats and statistics they were delivering to people who were making these decisions about where to put the next location. They had a suite of products, and what the problem they were running into is the sales team would be on a sales call talking to a potential retailer, and they would say, you can use ag data for this, and you log in here for this. You can use the other product for this, and you log into this location for this. And then you can use our third product, and you can log into this portal. They had 5 different products, all with different portals. And what happened in the sales cycle is it caused a lot of confusion, and it created a sales cycle that was elongated, which, as we all know in sales, is not good for sales. So they had a few operational problems and then brand problems that we uncovered in the initial research that we did. In that initial research, we uncovered that they worked specifically with retail establishments and they delivered data. They did not deliver analysis. So they needed a new name, they needed to unify their brands, and they needed to come up with a way to communicate this message so that it shortened the sales cycle and gave tools to the sales team so they could communicate clearly to their prospects. We created a new name for the company, Retail Stat, merging their industry specific and what they were delivering together as one word. They can own that word now. And we also, on the operations side, they created one portal where customers could log in and access all of the data in one place. So there was a unification that went together, not only on the brand side, but also on the operations side. So those two things came together. The outcome of this was company significant growth, consistency in terms of the brand. Now they had one brand, they had one consistent template and toolkit they could use, and they had guidelines for how to communicate their message. So then when they were communicating to customers around using iconography or charts or visuals, they have a color palette, they have consistent fonts and style so that they are able to shorten that sales cycle. All right, so now we're going to go into a question and answer time period. Now, I'd love to hear from you. So you can take yourself off mute. And if you have challenges, I'd love to hear what challenges you're facing, and we can talk through them together. No challenges? No one has any challenges? No one wants to talk through them together? Well, what I'm going to talk to you about then is the opportunity of AI. So right now we're in a period of time where AI is becoming a part of the marketing brand advertising landscape. I'm sure that you've been exposed to it. I'm sure that you're wondering what to do, and understanding how to utilize AI in marketing may be one of the questions that you have. So I'm just going to tell you a little bit about what we're doing to be able to face that challenge head on. So people are now utilizing AI to search for things. And the reason they're doing it is because they can get really good detail and information quickly. Whereas in using Google, you might get a slew of results that aren't really what you're looking for, and it takes a while to dig through the information to get to the real facts and information you're trying to uncover. So it's human nature to move towards something that's easier to use. You get better results, you get them quicker. So people are switching to utilizing systems like Gemini, ChatGPT, OpenAI, Perplexity, and more. What's important for brands to know is how can you be found in AI? Because people are searching for businesses utilizing the AI instead of Google search. What you can do on your website, number one, add schema to each of your pages. If you have a developer that you work with, you can utilize that developer, or you're welcome to engage us to add schema to each of your pages on your website. What schema it is in the back end. You're not going to see it on the front end, but it delivers content for each page in snippets. Delivers a little picture, a title, it may include reviews and a description, and it's how AI robots like to read content. So delivers that information. Schema is built on each of your pages on your website, and it makes it easier for AI to index you in their results. The second piece that we're doing is we're looking at we're doing searches in AI. So we're actively experimenting in AI to see if brands can be found and where they're found and what brands are coming up instead of our clients. And what we're finding is that there's really good content that is written on websites, and that really good content, comparing and contrasting competition, is what seems to be rising to the top. So we found that listings of companies, comparing and contrasting them together, seems to be a piece of content that AIs like to utilize as one of their footholds in research. So we're actively creating more content on our site and our client sites that has this information, comparing and contrasting like companies. The second piece of that is that FAQ pages are now more important. Many sites have one FAQ page. However, it's important to have FAQ pages throughout your site. And the kinds of questions in your FAQs are long form questions. And if you have used AI, you'll notice that AI is utilizing long form questions. And the more information you put in your question, the better response you get from AI. So FAQ questions should be answering commonly asked questions from your customers. And it should be talking about your brand, how you deliver your service, the goals and expectations your clients might have, understanding the process of how you work, and really communicating that message outwardly, multiple places throughout your website. So what we're recommending is on each page of your website, you have a section that has an FAQ, and it may have 7 to 10 questions, and the answers may be 2 to 3 paragraphs long. And that's a lot of content, right? So in order to make that digestible and readable, we're using an accordion style look and feel within WordPress that shortens that area. So if you have a question, you have the question there and a little plus sign, you click on the plus sign, and then the answer reveals itself. You read that answer, and then the user goes on to the next question. As they click on the plus sign for the next question, it minimizes the first answer and then expands the next. Makes it for a good user experience on the website. What I encourage everyone to do is to start utilizing AI and use the paid versions. And I prefer, because I do not want my information taken and used for future AI, is I always select the preference that says do not track my information for future use in AI. So that is a preference even if you use the paid versions. Make sure you're using paid, and then make sure you have utilized the paid version and with the selection press that says do not use my information. I'm doing a lot of searches in AI and using AI so I can better understand it for myself as a leader in a business, and also be able to communicate to my team how we can be more effective and efficient in the delivery of content on a daily basis. So that's a great opportunity right now in the midst of a time with economic uncertainty. Leveling up in certain areas is an important piece. So I'm spending approximately 5 hours a week working on AI, and I'm getting ready to take a sabbatical for 2 weeks to focus entirely on AI and how we can be utilizing this in our business, how we can be utilizing it for our customers, so that we can be a better value to our customers when it comes to how to interject AI in 2025 and 2026. So that is one of the challenges that I think we're all facing, whether we are on top of it or thinking about it or think it's high risk. AI is going to continue to be there, and it's going to continue to grow and grow. We're already seeing, I was just looking at one of our clients' SEO reports. This last month, they had 59 visitors that came to their site through ChatGPT, and it is a significant area of growth for businesses. And this is how I see it. I see the period of time that we're in right now as toxic uncertainty. It seems like the economics are okay, but people are caught up in, is it going to be a recession? Is it going to be a recession? I say, let's move on past that. Let's focus on how we can be better. How can we make lemonade out of lemons? And how can we make our company stronger? How can we deliver our products and services better or more effectively? And how can we be ready to face what AI is how AI is unfolding ahead of us? So that's what I'm focused on. That's a challenge I feel is in front of us, and that we need to be focused on solving, or at least solving for today. The second challenge I think in front of us is that time is our enemy. And I talk about this every week in meetings with my team. That is the only non-renewable resource that we have, is time. And so it's important that we are productive, that we're effective and efficient in the time that we spend each day on our business and in our business. So we're focused internally on how can we meet and beat our deadlines? What are we putting in place to grow our employees to help them be more efficient? And, you know, AI is one of those ways. We can put emails into AI and improve the clarity and conciseness of it. I can do a lot of research in AI. I can utilize AI for a lot of things, spelling, proofing, editing my documents much quicker than I could before using systems like Grammarly. So we're focused on how can we know that time is speeding up? How can we be more productive and get things done quicker and deliver them at a high quality level? So with that said, does anyone want to ask any questions? With that, I'll give you one more challenge. LinkedIn is the channel where I think in business, we underutilize it as leaders. There is a lot of tools on LinkedIn, and what we have started utilizing are newsletters and articles on LinkedIn. I recommend that leaders become thought leaders and really start intentionally putting content out on LinkedIn in that format. I have started to personally write articles and put them out on LinkedIn and write posts on LinkedIn to get that information out there. And I am getting a lot of traction and momentum by putting myself out there. And that means a little bit of vulnerability, writing content if you're not a writer. But again, you can utilize AI to improve and enhance your writing skills. The important piece is that you're telling your story, you're telling a specific problem, action, result that happened. You're giving people tools and education. It's not about selling, it's about almost giving away the farm, telling people what to do and how to do it. The more you are free about giving away that information, the more that your content is going to be seen. So with that, I encourage you all to utilize LinkedIn as a format for business-to-business sales. That's where all the decision makers are at. They're on LinkedIn. The people that are going to be signing the checks, they're on LinkedIn. So making sure your content is visible and relevant and consistent with your brand is important. I've heard a few things. One that you only need to put one piece of content on LinkedIn a week. That 2, 3, 4, 5 doesn't improve your results. So think about that. One piece of content on LinkedIn in a week. You could do that for the next 52 weeks. That would start giving you a consistency in your voice and help build an audience that may be interested in what you have to say. With that said, what I'd like to do is do the closing. Thank you for joining me and for your commitment to leading with confidence. If you found this helpful, please share the session on LinkedIn, YouTube, or with your local business community. Let's keep the conversation going because together we can build resilient brands that thrive no matter what.